Բայց ինքը փոխելու է սպիքերով, որ թե մենակ իմ վրա է մնալու այս ամեն ինչը։
Չէ, այնտեղ որ շոուր խոսի, Zoom-ից ավելացնի։
Zoom-ից։ Can someone talk at the snap end?
Oui, hello. Here we are.
Okay. Let's see. Zoom does a bit of a delay. Okay, yes.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Is this meant to be in French and English, both?
There's very few people on our end who know French. So I would suggest if we can keep it English as much as possible.
Okay.
Because then we'll have a problem with our Armenian audience not understanding.
Okay.
Though, you know,
because the questions were in French when I received them, so I just
okay, yeah, sure. I think, yeah. No, I think they may have translated it for you.
Okay.
The word that
Thank you.
already.
Yeah, or just to let you know, we'll cut it out anyway. Just to let you know, we're live already, so on YouTube, and people are joining. We may have to wait 1-2 extra minutes until people join.
İzniniz provoca nicio contact found.
Merci.
We don't have any sound right now.
Can you guys hear me though?
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Okay, yeah. So, Mr. Memarian, you joined us, right?
Great.
Can you hear us? If you could unmute yourself, we cannot hear you.
Now I think it should be better. So hello, colleagues.
Hello.
Very nice meeting you all.
Thank you very much for joining. And Mr. Guilbeault, former Minister of Environment, Climate in Canada, who was the co-host of COP15 in Montreal, Alice de Soirté, right? Is that? Okay, sorry. And Mr. Memarian is the Deputy Minister of Environment in Armenia since 2022. So I'll officially start in a minute or so. Yeah. Mr. Memarian, do you have a presentation or you're just going to talk?
Yeah, I will just talk.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, maybe we should start. Good evening for those who are in Yerevan, and good morning for those who are in Montreal and anywhere in between. I'm Alan Armenian. I'm the director of the AUA Acopian Center for the Environment. We are thrilled to host this first Yerevan to Montreal collaboration talk series. We were very happy to meet with SNAP, which is an NGO in Canada. And they have been very active in the field of in conservation field and environmental work in Canada, but also they were active in preparations for COP15 when it took place in Montreal. And we have a series of talks that will be co-hosting over the next few months. This is first of those webinars that we're organizing. The webinar is called How to Make a Biodiversity COP Matter. And our objective is to discuss expectations around COP17 and what lessons we can learn from COP15 that took place in Montreal. Special attention will be given to how we can conceive and think about transformative, innovative, and effective approaches to COP17 and exploring the multitude of opportunities that will follow the COP17 event in Armenia. Our speakers today are Stephen Guilbeault, president of COP15. At the time, he was also the Minister of Environment and Climate Change of Canada. Mr. Guilbeault is a Canadian politician, activist, has been a member of the Canadian Parliament from electoral districts near Montreal. Since 2019, he's been a member of the Liberal Party, Minister of Canadian Heritage from 2019 to 21, Minister of Environment and Climate Change for 21 to 25, Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture and Minister responsible for official languages in 2025. And he continues to be a member of Parliament, of course. And Alice Dessoité, SNAP Quebec, he is the strategic advisor at SNAP Quebec, promoting the Montreal Call to operate transformative change for biodiversity. She's also supporting Indigenous-led conservation and advocating for enhanced environmental policies at various levels. Mr. Aram Meimarian, Deputy Minister of Environment of the Republic of Armenia. He's been a Deputy Minister since 2022. He is in charge of the biodiversity portfolio, in addition to many other issues that the ministry covers. He's also the focal point and curates the COP17 activities at the ministry. Welcome, dear panelists. I'm very happy that you were able to join us, and we thank you for your time. Maybe starting with Mr. Guilbeault, if there's any opening statements you would like to make before I ask any questions.
You're asking a politician if he wants to talk. That's a very dangerous thing to do. But I thank you very much for inviting me. Good evening or good morning, depending on where you are on the globe. I'm very happy to be here for this conversation. And in a very unpolitician way, I won't talk too much, and I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you very much. All right, then let me start maybe, and I don't know, Alice or Mr. Meimarian, Alice Dessoité or Mr. Meimarian, are you, do you want to say anything in the opening, or you're okay if we go with questions?
All good on my end.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so Mr. Guilbeault, from your perspective, what was the lasting legacy of COP15? And specifically for Canada, and then maybe broadly, if you think there's any legacy globally that can be talked about.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps I can start with a little clarification. I was not the president of COP15, but Canada was the host country under the Chinese presidency. I think, I mean, as many experts, analysts, and people who participated or who followed COP15 would say, I think it was a very important moment for nature. Many have compared it to what Paris meant for climate in 2015. I think it really helped to ensure that nature rose to the level that and to the attention that it should have been getting for many years, and that for different reason it hadn't. It was the largest nature COP in history. And it was organized in a very short amount of time. I mean, as the Armenian government can probably attest to, they've been working on organizing COP17 for over a year. We had about 6 months to organize COP15 because of COVID in China, and so it was organized very quickly. But despite that, so many people showed up. I think there was a real thirst for the meeting to take place, but not just you can have a meeting to have a meeting. But I think what was what perhaps one of the defining elements of COP15 was that when I say we, it's not just Canada, but working in collaboration with the Chinese presidency, with Minister Wong, and a number of allies from Latin America, Africa, Asia, Europe. We were able to convince those who wanted more ambition in terms of conservation that more money was needed. And we were able to convince those who wanted more money, then more conservation was needed, and that those two things had to go hand in hand. You could not ask for more money if you weren't willing to do more in terms of ambition. And for a country like Canada, the European Union, many other countries in the North, you cannot ask for more ambition if you weren't willing to step up to the plate in terms of funding. And to me, that was the key in Montreal. I definitely think that the fact that we are talking about COP15 still, and not just in those circles, but in climate change circle as well, and climate change COP, and we're seeing more and more integration in certainly in the climate sector of nature, of biodiversity, in a way we hadn't really seen before, or certainly not as much, is certainly a lasting impact. Obviously, when you look at the numbers in terms of resource mobilization, it's not going the way we were hoping to. There was some initial encouraging commitments that were made to the Global Environmental Fund, the Biodiversity Fund that was created shortly after COP15. But the geopolitical context is making it very difficult for this to continue being a priority for governments. And that's true for many governments all around the world. I'm not saying all governments, but certainly many governments. So we have to try and navigate those challenging waters and still find ways to and I think we need that more than ever. We need to be able to show that multilateralism works, that we can still find ways to work together despite everything that's happening, and despite many of the differences that some of our countries have. We need to be able to do that, and we did that in Montreal. It was a complicated world then. It was perhaps a bit less complicated than it is today, which is why the task of the Armenian government is so much more important, to be able to find pathways to help us continue making progress and showing the international community, showing Indigenous peoples around the world, showing civil society and industry how we can do that. We have, and we have new tools to allow us to do that. The Public Sector Accounting Board, I believe it was last week or the week before that, has adopted a new measure to enable countries to basically put nature on their books. And so it's an international standard association that will help many of us in our countries convince our governments that this is something that we should be doing. And I think the more we can build an architecture like we did for climate, the more we can do something that has proven to be more difficult. Like if you look at the voluntary market worldwide for biodiversity credits. It is somewhere between probably $3 to $8 million. It's not a lot of money, especially if you compare it to climate change. Why? Well, there's a couple of reasons, but certainly right now we don't have this regulatory architecture either domestically or internationally. Some countries have it. What the UK is doing with their net positive strategy is certainly helping, but there aren't a lot of those initiatives, and we need more than that. I don't want to talk too much. I'll talk briefly about Canada. COP15 was instrumental in Canada. We had started under the previous government to really change the way we do things in Canada. When my government was first elected in 2015, Canada wasn't even protecting 1% of its oceans and coastlines. We're now at close to 16%, and we have projects in the works that will take us very soon to 20 and maybe above that. So we're not at the 30% mark yet, but there's been tremendous progress. And the other area where there's been tremendous progress is on Indigenous conservation. And some of you will remember that in COP15, Prime Minister Trudeau announced 4 PFPs, Project Finance for Permanence, all Indigenous-led projects in the Northwest Territories of Canada, on the west coast of the country, in Nunavut or northeastern for Canada, for those less familiar with our geography, and in another one in Ontario. I won't talk about all of them, but the Northwest Territories involve 23 Indigenous nations, so all of the Indigenous nations of that territory. It is, to our knowledge, the world's largest Indigenous-led conservation project, 1 million square kilometer, basically 4 times the size of the United Kingdom. So these projects are, I mean, they matter for people in those areas. They matter for Indigenous people. They matter for communities, and then they certainly matter for the country and for nature protection globally.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And if you COP17 as an event, do you, in your estimation, did it have any, other than the policies and the political kind of solutions, was there any kind of groundswell, any kind of grassroots interest, increased interest, societal interest in nature and biodiversity and ecosystems?
Massive, yes. And again, remember that we only had 6 months to prepare and to build this momentum. But thanks to obviously the implication of civil society organization, conservation groups, I mean, the country really came together. So it was the federal government with many of our partners. It was the provincial government. It was the city of Montreal. It was tourism organizations. My apologies, coming on board, but there was really a societal movement towards working together to make this a success. And I think we are still reaping the benefit of this in Canada. I mean, obviously, things have become more complicated here as they've become more complicated globally, less so in Canada than in other regions of the world, obviously. But we have a very loud and complicated neighbor that's been elected to in a very senior leadership position south of our border. The attention of Canadians has shifted from environmental issues to issues like affordability and certainly more geopolitical issues. The President of the United States, as some of you may know, have been talking for a long time about making Canada the 51st states of the United States. And although this may sound ludicrous if you're not in Canada or North America, it's getting a lot of people worried here. So, of course, these nature and climate don't have the same attention that they used to be, but there's still a lot of good work happening on the ground, in part, not only, but certainly in part because of COP15.
Well, maybe I can go to Ms. de Swarte and maybe de Swarte and get some feedback from her, and then we'll come back to you because there's still many more questions I have for you, and we'll see if also the audience registers any questions, and we'll have some time for Q&A as well. Ms. de Swarte, so what in your estimation, Mr. Gilbo mentioned that civil society had a very significant role. In your estimation, what was civil society's role in pushing forward and coalescing society around COP15?
Thank you. So I think we were quite instrumental in helping reaching the people and telling stories to the media and really like amplifying the coming of the COP. So because usually, yeah, NGOs can talk a language that maybe reaches a bit more widely than, when you take a very technical or a scientific stance. And then, as Mr. Guilbeault mentioned, it was really by gathering with a very various groups of organizations from the civil society, of course, conservation and environmental organizations, but also union workers, universities, financial institutions. And so we were able to connect all together and to build something that we call the Collectif COP15. And so really to have coordinated actions. And maybe I can add that so we really try to support the international ambition by pushing for domestic ambition, and that was the way we were trying to influence the negotiations, because most of our organizations didn't really actively take part in the negotiations. So our role was rather a bit on the outskirts of the COP, and so putting a gentle sweet pressure on our government to keep the ambition high was the way we contributed, I think, to make COP15 an important moment for biodiversity conservation.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this collective COP15? How did that come about? What was it, and how many groups were in that collective?
Yeah, so it was a bit, in with a sense of urgency and the necessity to be very effective, since we had only like 5 months over summertime to try to build something. So, but we could also, we are lucky enough in Quebec that we have a very good history of cooperation. I think it does come from the climate cooperation. So it was actually quite easy for us to get together. And so as part of the collective, so there were more than 100 organizations from the civil society. So as I mentioned, with very diverse representations and a great diversity of voices as well. And so it was led by conservation NGOs. And so on a very concrete dimension. So what we did, so we built a common political agenda with concrete asks to our governments in terms of conservation. This was a way to encourage the ambition. We also built a national communication campaign. So over the weeks before COP15, so that we can build the attention and the momentum for the COP. We also coordinated on the media front, so identifying experts and really trying to have a wide offer for the media to engage in the coverage of COP15. And then we also, so we didn't have a green zone as part of COP15. But we kind of set up a non-official green zone, which was called Living Generations Space. And so we built a programmation and so held about 60 events during the COP to give access to the people and to also give room to sometimes underrepresented stakeholders and voices. So there was a lot of events promoting indigenous-led leadership and conservation initiatives in these spaces. And then finally, we also launched a conference, a 2-day conference on transformative change and to the underlying causes of biodiversity. And it was also one of our contribution, I think, as civil society to start this conversation that is, in our view, not happening enough. So this was also a very instrumental moment for us on that front, and maybe I can elaborate a bit on that later.
Very good. And just to clarify, who was or what kind of members do you have in this collective? Did you have in this collective? Because I heard unions, I heard conservation organizations, I heard financial institutions. I mean, how did everyone come together to an agenda, agree on an agenda? You know?
Lots of discussions and meetings, but I would say that I found there was a really great respect for everyone's expertise, and really like this. I think everyone was understanding that this was a very unique opportunity, a very important moment. It was just at the end of the pandemic, and so like really the question of health, access to nature, it was really like in everyone's mind. And so honestly, it wasn't that much a challenge to get together and also try to be tactical, and so ask for concrete gains we could make in the short term. And really trying to encourage our governments to lead, and they did. So we are happy.
Very good. Thank you very much. Maybe I can jump to Mr. Memarian and then come back to so that we can keep some kind of a dynamic. Mr. Memarian, again, thank you. I know you're very busy and you have a huge agenda in front of you, and COP17, I believe, is only one of them, and you have lots of other stuff you're busy with. So thank you for taking the time to join us. What do you hope will be the legacy of COP17?
Thank you very much, dear colleagues, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to join this conversation. As part of the forum from Montreal to Yerevan dialogue. And it's a very great honor to sit together with my honorable panelists. And I'm honored to be here. Let me begin by thanking also you, American University of Armenia, the Acopian Center for the Environment, SNF Quebec, and all partners for helping build momentum on the road to COP17. So for us, the legacy we are aiming.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. I don't know what's happening, but there's what? I think this is the old video somehow.
I'm sorry, should I continue?
Can you guys hear this background noise?
No.
No, we're good.
No.
We hear everything.
Okay, sorry,
on our end.
then just go ahead. Yeah, please, sorry.
So the legacy we are aiming for is quite clear for us. COP17 should be remembered as the moment when the global biodiversity progress moved decisively from ambition into implementation. So that's why we choose our motto, taking action for nature. So action is in the core of the COP17, and we hope so. We have many consultations and meetings with many parties and stakeholders, and the main thing that we were listening among everything was the action. So COP17 for us should be a moment for action, momentum for action. At COP15 in Montreal, the international community adopted the KMGBF, a landmark agreement with clear global targets. And then during the COP16, the COP of people in Cali, then Cali helped to operationalize by including monitoring, reporting, and resource mobilization, which are key elements. So during the COP17, we will take stock of where we are in terms of implementing the GBF, including how the aggregate of the current actions being taken by the parties and others align with the ambition of the framework. We expect for parties to reflect on the progress and make decision on the global review, which will pave the way to ensure that we are able to meet the framework. I think this item will likely have two parts. It will identify key actions that parties and other stakeholders, IPLC, civil society, private sector, cities, and subnational governments could take to improve implementation. And secondly, it will inform the decisions on many other items like resource mobilization, finance, synergy, scientific decisions as the gaps identified in the global review will likely need action related to many topics. But beyond technical outcomes, legacy is also about trust and inclusiveness. So if COP17 creates a process where government, civil society, indigenous peoples, scientists, and youth all feel ownership, and if it helps accelerate real action on the ground, that will have achieved lasting impact. And we also want to continue this spirit of COP15 when the KMGBF adopted, and then the spirit of the Cali when people were so much involved, especially in the green zone. We want to move this spirit to Yerevan, and we want to count on multilateralism, that we can agree on pathways, even in these very difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
There's something weird going on with my computer, so I'm a little bit disoriented. Sorry. Can I maybe, I don't know if you had a chance to, Mr. Memarian, to look at the previous COPs and the outcomes of the previous COPs. Do you find anything in COP15 and 16 that you find inspiring? You mentioned COP15, of course, KMBGF and all those very important results and some of the, but anything kind of very concrete that that you would like to highlight and is kind of inspirational that we should try to also think about in the Armenian context?
So, as I already mentioned, COP15 was what was so inspiring about COP15 that it delivered a historic global agreement at a time when multilateral cooperation was under pressure. It is still under pressure, but it showed us that multilateral cooperation is there, and the parties agreed on KMGBF. So the main key thing that I will separate here and say is the KMGBF from the Montreal, and then from COP17 I would highlight two key elements. First, the shift toward practical implementation. To particularly progress on monitoring systems, reporting frameworks, and resource mobilization. This helped move the agenda from commitments to real mechanisms. And secondly, the stronger recognition of indigenous peoples and local communities, including from the work on the Article 8J. This reflected a broader understanding that biodiversity governance must be inclusive and grounded in the diverse knowledge systems. For COP17, we aim to combine these elements: strong political ambition, technical credibility, and inclusive whole of society engagement. And importantly, we want the COP to generate momentum beyond the negotiations through partnerships, public awareness, and long-term impact. Mr. Gasparian?
Switch my computers because it's the other one was very disorienting. So, Mr. Guilbeault, if I could come back to you and ask you about your experience with Canada and leading the.
Je rétablis son son.
Yeah. As a former climate activist, what is your perspective on the role of nature in addressing the multiple crises that we have, both climate crisis and maybe if you want to expand to the pollution crisis and this kind of triple threats to the planet that human activity is causing?
Perhaps to better answer the question, and for those people who are not familiar with Canadian politics, I have a bit of I came to politics through unusual ways. I was a climate and environmental activist for 25 years. I co-founded an organization, which is one of the largest now in Canada, environmental organization working on sustainable agriculture, transport, climate. I also worked for Greenpeace for 10 years, Greenpeace Canada, Greenpeace International. I was arrested 4 times for my activism. So it's unusual for someone like that. There aren't a lot of people with my background in federal politics. But I would like to think that I'm still an activist. I guess that can be debated. But what I've tried to do since I have entered politics is to bring activism into politics on things like nature, like climate, like plastics. And Canada has made tremendous progress on a number of those issues. There's still a lot to be done. I mean, I talked about some of the things we did on nature. For the first time in our history, we were able to bring our emissions down while the economy was growing in Canada. That had never happened before. On plastics, we have introduced a number of measures to fight plastic pollution. There is so much more that we need to do on that front as well. We hosted INC4 as part of the plastics negotiations as well in 2023. But unfortunately, we are seeing in Canada, and certainly at the federal level, when it comes to climate change, some rolling back of some of the measures that had been put in place before. We're not seeing that on nature, fortunately, and it is anticipated that the next phase of Canada's nature strategy, of which I worked on heavily until November of last year, where I decided to resign my position as a cabinet minister in protest over some of the things that were happening on climate change. But I have continued being very involved with the government, with cabinet on nature strategy, and I think we will see in the coming days Canada continuing to move forward with the implementation of the KMGBF and our COP15 commitments. So I think there are some positive things, but I think right now, I think it's a challenge here in Canada. I think it's a challenge in many countries. We have to find a way to convince or remind the public that yes, there are other important issues. There are other worrisome issues right now in the global context, but the nature crisis isn't going away. The climate crisis isn't going away. Canada's making record level investment in defense, largely through pressures from our neighbor to the south, NATO commitments, and I, as a cabinet minister, I have supported those investments. There are multiple threats facing our countries which weren't there 10 or 15 years ago, or to a far lesser degree. But at the same time, tens of thousands of Canadians have been directly impacted by climate impacts in Canada and by nature degradation, forest fires, floodings. Tens of thousands of Canadians have been displaced and are being displaced right now. Well, not right now, but almost every year now because of forest fires. Tens of thousands of Canadians aren't being displaced because of China or because of potential threat from Russia or even Iran interference in our country. So yes, those geopolitical threats are there and they're real, but these other environmentally related threats are also there and they're very real and they are impacting people right now in much greater way than the other ones are. And I think because of all those other issues, the people people in Canada and in many other places aren't paying as much attention and aren't paying the attention that they should to ensure that their government continues to make good on the commitments we've made, whether they're climate commitments, whether they're plastics commitment, whether they're nature commitments. And I think that's the work that people like myself, who are still in Parliament, I'm in fact in the Canadian Parliament right now, but people, I would argue, from civil society, Indigenous organizations, municipality, continue to be very proactive on these issues in Canada. They're a great ally for those of us who want to continue seeing this action take place. But we do face additional challenges right now.
Mr. Swat, if I could come back to you for 1 second. There was one of the things in our initial discussions when we were planning these talk series, your emphasis on how you focused on transformative change of society.
Yes.
And policy. Can you tell us a little bit about your understanding of this transformative change, and also how you, I think there's the Montreal call, and if this is connected to that kind of push for transformative change?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, when we were thinking during COP15, okay, what can be our added value? Very quickly decided to amplify the latest scientific conclusions from the IPBES about the fact that we need to not only act on the direct drivers of biodiversity loss, but also on the indirect drivers and underlying causes of biodiversity loss, which are actually the same than for climate change and for all the environmental crises we are facing. And so, which are basically unsustainable levels of consumptions, also around our values, as societies, and like some incompatibility between the fact that we have to rely on finite resources, and so that infinite growth is incompatible with this material reality. So that's that was the IPBES conclusions were the starting point for our desire to really have conversation, put this on the agenda, and gather people in a conversation about it, but focus on solutions. So that was like the spirit of the Montreal call that we launched after holding the 2-day conference I mentioned earlier. And so, during a side event at COP15, we launched the Montreal call. And so Government of Canada, of Quebec, City of Montreal, the Cree Nation government endorsed this call, which is really a call to discuss solutions to the indirect causes of biodiversity loss. And then we were able to continue this conversation at COP16. Also had another high-level event there with Susanna Mohammed, so the president of COP16, and really engaging so IPBES representative, the secretary of the Convention on Biological Diversity. And of course, we are hoping to expand even more this conversation during COP17. So our wish is to have a full day of discussions with an even bigger group of interested people. So hopefully, Mr. Maymarian, we can collaborate on this front. But yeah, and to go back to what Mr. Guilbeault was saying, I think the discussion of transformative change addresses really, it really connects like the biodiversity crisis with like the bigger issues to which it is connected. So talking about transformative change and the solutions to operate to address these deep causes for our environmental crisis is essential, especially in this moment, we think. So yeah, hopefully join us in this conversation.
Thank you. Mr. Maymarian, maybe coming to you with this question that Mr. Swart posed is how does the Armenian government and maybe your office to begin with see the potential of connecting these various agendas and converging them and perhaps addressing the more root cause of many of these challenges that we're facing? I think you're on mute. So.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. I mean, there's a great deal of discussion now about the convergence or the alignment or the synergies between climate action, biodiversity action, pollution, desertification. All of these are kind of connected. So this connection of these issues, how do you see this being addressed or talked about in the context of COP17?
Oh, thank you. I think we were talking about the synergies for a long time, and it's not a surprise, not a question that synergies between the free conventions is a must, because even if we look into this difficult geopolitical situation, the urgency and the need for the synergies is becoming much more relevant. We have started also for the preparation for COP17. We started to talk about the need for synergies, and even we were thinking about how to create some platform or something like that for bringing the conventions into the needed synergies. And during the COP30 in Belém, it was signed agreement about the synergies between the three conventions. And during also COP17, we are thinking about the discussions, and we want to understand how the parties will approach to this idea between the conventions, and how we can create some understanding and the way forward on the synergies, because we think that it's needed, especially in these times.
Thank you. Mr. Guilbeault, going back to you, you have been, of course, you've brought the activism to government, to policy, and that's.
I've tried. I don't know
yes.
if I succeeded. I'm trying.
We credit you for trying, and so and activism is about transformative change, also, right? So how do you see, how does transformative change get tempered by social political realities of a large country like Canada? What is it that you give? What is it that you take? How does this become this transformation? If you're a kind of a hopeful, optimistic young politician, how can you think about transformative change once you enter the reality of having to negotiate, having to work with many interests and bring change about without compromising too much of your values?
That's a really good question. I think we could probably have an entire webinar just on that. As you well know, to govern is to choose, to make decisions. If we go back in time, say 40, 50 years, there weren't a whole lot of members of parliament in Canada for whom environmental issues, sustainability were very big. It's not something that they were very familiar with. Fast forward 50 years, you have many more members of parliament who care about these things, either because they've learned as youth, they were taught in school, there's so much more of a conversation happening in our society about that it is much easier to be able to bring forward regulation, legislation, to do things that would have been unthinkable 40 or 50 years ago. But there's still pressures coming from other sectors. We're very largely still a resource-based economy in Canada. Wood, minerals, fossil fuels. Canada is the 4th largest producer of oil and gas in the world. So there are still those pressures, and there are still those compromises that governments make to try and, as we call it here, keep the federation together, keep as much as possible everyone happy. Some of the compromises we do aren't in the interest of greater sustainability of nature or climate or climate protection. How do you do that? I mean, I think the more our population, our respective populations, will be educated, will be aware of the importance of those issues, the more it's going to be difficult for political parties like mine to ignore them, or to act in ways that go against those issues. So when people ask me what can I do, people I meet in the street or when I'm doing door knocking or talking on the phone, then they ask me what can I do. I say, talk to your political officials, your municipal political officials. We have provinces in Canada, subnational governments, federal representative. The more we hear about people and the importance of those issues, the more we are likely. It's not a direct correlation, but the more we are likely to act in a way and to do things that will enable our country and others perhaps to move towards sustainability.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. And Mr. Swart, how do you see the role of what would you advise to Armenian civil society about what they can do to make COP17 matter? So it's not yet another conference of the parties where people talk and there isn't much that follows. What is civil societies, and in that you can include media, I guess, role in making sure that COP17 matters?
Thank you for this question. So first, I wish my best wishes to everyone working on preparing COP17 right now, because I know it can be quite exhausting. So, I mean, a first advice would be to choose wisely what you're gonna put your energy, invest your energy in, because you cannot do everything, and you cannot win on so many fronts at the same time. So. But yeah, I think gather with allies and really try to build this momentum. Yeah, to reach out to citizens and to tell stories about the importance of nature, and in a way that touches people. So really making connection with health, with well-being, also with the economy, because referring to the previous topic, unlike the choice a government has to make, we should also emphasize the latest IPBES conclusions in their business and biodiversity assessment, that the economy cannot survive without a healthy nature. And so we have more and more evidence of this. So this is also messages that needs to be amplified to build support for conservation. I think another great message to tell the people is go spend time in nature and ask access to nature. That's really a good way to engage the population, at least in our own experience in Quebec. So and yeah, there are also so many cultural values that are attached to nature, and so it is a great time actually to talk about the Armenian heritage and the history in relation to nature. So that's something I would encourage, and yeah, this is also a great time to build bridges with strategic allies from other origins. I mean, so yeah, banks, cultural institutions, try to bring a diverse diversity around the table to have this conversation, because nature conservation is really like a crucial matter for everyone.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Memarian, coming to you, what is your expectation of Armenian civil society and media? What do you expect? I mean, government is so busy with organizing, and there's so many different components to take care of, and it's we're very proud that Armenia has taken on this responsibility. But what do you expect civil society to do in this process, other than being critical, which is what they should do? But anyway.
Thank you very much for this question. This is one of the key elements that drove us to apply and to host the biodiversity COP in Armenia. Because firstly, we wanted for our citizens and for our population to be involved in the topic of biodiversity. And the topic of biodiversity is very essential for Armenia. It's more tangible for our citizens, more understandable. But on the other hand, we were having this regional very tough situation for decades, and for us in the Ministry of Environment, it was very essential to draw the attention from conflicts and from toughness of the region to the real problems that we have and that we need to take attention on. This is the biodiversity and the environment of Armenia. So one of the main and strong expectations that we have from the media is to play a key role in translating complexity into understanding. Biodiversity negotiations sometimes can be very technical, and without effective communication, their relevance may not reach the broader public. The media will help us to explain to our population, our citizens, and globally why biodiversity matters, what is at stake, and how decisions affect people's lives. So for COP17, we expect active engagement from civil society, informed and responsible media coverage, and stronger storytelling that links biodiversity to development, health, food systems, and resilience. And I think Armenia has much more to offer, and we were thinking about our cultural heritage, how the biodiversity and overall environment shaped our culture, our language, our history, our poetry, our songs, and also the traditional knowledge that we have in our food. So we want to offer, and we want to open doors of Armenia for a global community, the community that we expect, and community that is for the environment, for the real issues, that the environment matters, that the biodiversity matters, and we need to stop the biodiversity and to open Armenia's doors for the global community to look what we can offer, maybe that we are not noticing, maybe, and you can derive and you can show, and maybe as being one of the countries who has very colorful history, maybe we can offer something very interesting here. So we put key and crucial attention to our civil society and media. We want them to be involved and to go deeper into the topic and into the details, and to show and to explain to a broader community, to countries and to people why biodiversity matters and why biodiversity loss should be stopped, and why we should commit into to action for KMGBF, for implementing KMGBF. Thank you.
Thank you. And also congratulations on adopting the Biodiversity Action Plan. I think that was approved by government recently. So we have another Biodiversity Action Plan.
Thank you very much. This this is another thing that COP brings to Armenia, that it makes easier for us in the Ministry of Environment to push forward our agenda and to ask all the line ministries to pay better and more attention and to finance better environment. Thank you.
Okay, I know we have an hour and a half, but an hour we have talked. So there's some questions. Some of them I'm looking at, they're very Canada specific, and I don't want to throw bombs there where, well, let me start with the one of the last questions here, which is directed to Mr. Memarian himself. And the goal of COP17 is to move from ambition to action. While the development of effective mechanisms for planning, monitoring, reporting, and review is essential, the key issue remains that implementation comes at a cost. Will COP17 have concrete objectives for closing the biodiversity finance gap, estimated at $700 billion a year under Goal D of the KMGBF? What outcomes can be expected in this regard?
Thank you very much for this very important question. And I think this is one of the key questions that we can have during the COP17. And yes, you are absolutely, the person who asked the question is absolutely right, that implementation depends on finance. And under the KMGBF, countries have collectively recognized a biodiversity finance gap of roughly $700 billion per year. So COP17, in my understanding, is not expected to close this gap in a single step. And I think it will be very difficult in this situation, but it must contribute to narrowing it in a credible and structured way. So what can COP17 realistically deliver? We can say that first, strengthening the global finance architecture for biodiversity. Secondly, scaling up financial flows and improve access. This is particularly important for developing countries. Discussions are ongoing on how to increase the international biodiversity finance. Domestic resource mobilization is very essential, and in Armenia we are working on it. We are trying to do our homework, and this is very difficult, but on the other hand very crucial. And the access to existing funds. And thirdly, aligning financial systems with biodiversity goals. So the overall answer can be that the COP17 will not fully close the gap in a single step, but it must contribute to narrowing it in a credible and structured way, which will be acceptable for the parties.
Mr. Guilbeault, I think we had probably miscommunicated with your office about the timing, and maybe our confusion at our end. But any thoughts, any suggestions you want to make before you have to leave?
My apologies. Yes, I have another event. I mean, thank you for the Acopian Center for organizing this in collaboration with the Biodiversity Secretariat, and thank you to SNAP for participating. I want to congratulate, and it's probably one of the first things I should have said, the Armenian government for taking the brave decision to host COP17. Of having lived it, it's an incredible endeavor. It requires massive efforts from certainly the government, civil society, and in your case, the Armenian society as a whole to make it happen. I want to assure you that as a member of parliament, I will continue to do everything I can to support the Armenian presidency. I'm in touch with many of my colleagues or ex-colleagues around the world. There's the Nature's Champions Network, which is still very active, co-chaired by Canada and China. That can be pulled into to help support. There's a high ambition coalition of ministers and ex-ministers, and we will continue to be engaged and do everything we can to support a successful Armenian COP17.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Merci.
you very much for your words. And Mr. Guilbault, we remember very well your wishes when you said it in Rome last year that you expect now to move to mountains of Armenia and the biodiversity of Armenia. We remember very well, and thank you for your warm wishes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us. Ms. Deswart, it's I guess we covered a lot under what the civil society can do. If as a civil society, let's say, what question would you ask the Armenian government? Let me put yourself in the position of an Armenian civil society. What would you expect Mr. Meimaryan to tell you about the issue that you have, concern that you have?
That's a good question. So with humility, of course, because I'm not from Armenia. But first, I want to say I find it very inspiring to hear about, like the Armenian heritage and like poetry, and so I would actually ask you to be very promoting the biocultural values, like the cultural values associated with nature. I think it can that would really help people and the community in general to better understand this importance of biodiversity. So there's a lot of emphasis on action and implementation. We do think that talking about solutions, concrete solutions, inspiring solutions is a really good way to work on implementation. Of course, everything cannot be replicated, but it's like really framing the conversation in this in a solution-oriented manner. And it was mentioned a few times, like the importance of local and subnational governments in the implementation of the commitments. So I think it would be really also interesting to learn about Armenian cities and regions, and I think keep this dialogue and energy from subnational governments moving forward. And then, of course, sorry to repeat myself, but really talking about transformative change, which is actually, I understand, in the COP17 logo and intention. And so really capturing this this whole concept as part of COP17 and providing spaces to have this important conversation. That would be our ask.
Thank you. There's a question here, and Mr. Meimaryan, maybe this is addressed to you. Is COP17 having a formal interaction with COP30 on climate, as climate change being one of the major drivers for biodiversity loss, especially since COP30 was quite disappointing and hence putting even more pressure on Armenian COP17? Do you share this anxiety?
Thank you very much for this question. Of course, we are and we were in touch with our Brazilian colleagues and partners on discussions. And our minister, who is also designated co-president, was participating during the COP30 in Belém, and I think we were very active. But I will not say that the COP30 was disappointment. And on the topic, does it increase pressure on COP17? I will not say pressure, but as a responsibility and opportunity. So COP17 is not expected to compensate for climate negotiations, but it can help strengthen the overall environmental agenda. So it can show that multilateral processes can still deliver on implementation. And secondly, by reinforcing the role of nature in climate actions. And thirdly, by demonstrating that biodiversity action can generate core benefits for climate, water, and livelihoods. In fact, in a context where climate negotiations are facing some difficulties, Biodiversity COP17 has an opportunity to rebuild confidence in multilateral cooperation for practical progress. So I would not say COP17 is under pressure because of COP30. I would say both processes are part of the same broader challenge, moving from commitments to implementation in a complex geopolitical context. And that is exactly where COP17 can make a meaningful contribution, but it also can be one of the biggest challenges for COP17.
There's a question, the triple planetary crisis, and either of you can pick this up. The triple planetary crisis, climate change, biodiversity, like toxic pollution, harmful pollution, pose an urgent threat to the ecosystems. Would COP17 create opportunities for collaborations towards global restrictions on toxic chemicals that threaten biodiversity?
I think this question is also crucial for us to stop the biodiversity loss. And as a country, we were thinking how to move on this target, on these harmful subsidies. And I think here we are thinking to showcase Armenia's example for example. That in Armenia in previous times we were subsidizing the pesticides and I forgot the word, but we were subsidizing the harmful subsidies in the agriculture, but we shifted our attention to more sustainable ways. So now we are redirecting the subsidies into the better agriculture for the drip irrigation system, for smart greenhouses, for smart systems for keeping the cattle. So we are thinking that maybe we can have joint initiative with many of our partners and to deliver some progress on the harmful subsidies, because this issue I think is not on the agenda on a higher level. I think more than a decade, and here we can think and we can work on this, and we are working to be honest to take this difficult issue as a one of our initiatives and to deliver a pathway or to showcase Armenia's example or to showcase other parties' examples and to move forward on this direction. But at least to have a step forward, not subsidizing harmful subsidies and to redirecting our attention to more better ways of doing agriculture. Thank you.
Mr. Swart, was nature positive agriculture a topic in COP15? how to avoid, harming biodiversity. In fact, through agriculture, maybe supporting biodiversity. Was there a topic, a discussion, a message around that, if you recall?
So, yeah, so it was like within the negotiations of the international, the global biodiversity framework. I think the discussions were on, I can't remember the number of the target, but the target that is directed to agricultural issues and the level of pesticides. So to my knowledge, I mean, I was only exposed to this conversation at the Quebec level. And so, so allied organizations working on agricultural issues actually advocating quite intensely to make sure that both Canada and Quebec would really have higher standards regarding the use of some pesticides, and then like the whole redirecting harmful subsidies is which was adopted as an objective at COP15 remains such crucial element. We know that still today, when $1 is invested for conservation, still $30 are invested in activities that destroy nature. So, I mean, and when we talk about resources mobilization, it's not just a number like, some cash that we need to move from one way to the other. It's also really making sure that we are tackling these harmful subsidies, because this is not helping us going in the direction we want. So harmful subsidies, I think, are a topic that is really a priority.
Thank you. Mr. Memarian, some logistical question having to do with the conflict in the region. There's a question asking, could the ongoing conflict in the region affect COP's ability to take place in Armenia? Have you considered Plan B in case the situation deteriorates? What is the government's thinking about Plan B?
So the fact of the existence of this question already shows that we are in a difficult situation, and hopefully the situation will be resolved by the COP17. We expect that the situation will be resolved earlier. We hope so, and let's see. We are having a very close look on the situation, because also this country is a neighboring country for Armenia, and all this region is affected by this situation. So we are giving a close look on this. Our Ministry of Foreign Affairs is working on this direction, and we still have time till COP, and we hope not only for COP, but we hope that the situation will be resolved, and peace will be in this region. Thank you.
Thank you. And there's another question maybe I can address to you, and then maybe Mr. Swart, if you can also reflect on this. How important will the transformative change agenda be during COP17? Are you going to have areas, let's say in the blue zone, to discuss how transformative changes can support the implementation of Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework? So something about the blue zone and the green zone kind of program, if you will, and how the government conceives of those as being themselves platforms of enabling this right discussions and change.
So the transformative change will, I think, will be absolutely central to COP17. The KNGBF makes it very clear that that actions will not that the incremental actions will not be enough. We need system-wide changes in how we produce, consume, and manage natural resources. So COP17 is not expected to redefine the concept, but to help operationalize it through implementation. For example, aligning financial flows with biodiversity goals, reforming harmful subsidies, for example, we're talking about that, and integrating biodiversity into key sectors like agriculture, energy infrastructure, and so on. And I think both in green zone and in blue zone, these issues will be addressed. Here, I want also to add that we are working very closely with the Secretariat, and the content and the topics of the blue zone will also be discussed with the Secretariat and with the partners. So here we are not alone, and we are not deciding alone, and we are more this bridge between parties. So the parties can and partners can organize the content of the blue zone, and also we will be very cooperative with the green zone.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Swart, you mentioned something interesting, fringe green zone. This was like a green zone that didn't exist, but you created an ad hoc kind of green zone. How did that come about? Were there any issues with the official and then maybe Mr. Memarian, are you open to people organizing fringe events connected, not directly part of the program, but connected to the discussions? Is the government have any position on these independent events that are could be organized around the city or the country?
So we our unofficial green zone. So we were really lucky to have the support of Université du Québec, Montreal University in downtown Montreal, who we were able to use some of their spaces, and it was quite close from the venue of COP15. Also taking in account it was December, so usually it's snowy months, so it added a bit of complexity in the logistics. Yeah, so I mean, we received actually some funding from our governments to be able to, build this program and have this venue and everything. I think it was well appreciated, and I mean, I would absolutely defend the idea that it is healthy in a in a democracy to allow some a diversity of voices, and I mean so yeah, it was then a challenge for us. I would say was quite on a logistical aspect, because Quebec is a pretty big province. And so we really wanted to have some of our indigenous partners with us. So it involved quite a lot of travels, with a short amount of time to plan for everything. So I would say the biggest challenges were heating the rooms and having people come through snowstorms. But otherwise, it was really, really nice to have spaces open to the public, and we were like full houses every time. So, and also including some more festive moments as well. I think it is also what makes a COP a success.
Mr. Memarian, maybe about the COG, the green zone, the blue zone, and is there alternative space other than these that people can expect to I mean, the private sector can organize whatever they want, but you know, if there's some thought being given to that at the government level.
So, firstly, I should say that Armenia is hosting an event which will be the biggest in the history of independent Armenia, and to be honest, we are very stressed and challenged and honored to have this event, and especially with the situation in the region, with the logistical issues, and here comes the question of the green zone and the blue zone. And in Armenia, it's a very interesting situation, and I'm stating this very happily that our cities, communities, sometimes not agreeing with the organizing committee of COP17, deciding to organize summit in one city and then to organize green zone in another place. So these ideas in Armenia are floating, this green zone and the blue zone, and we are just exactly in the middle of the process. We are learning, and then we are trying to make awareness rising. So there are several initiatives, even more than one green zone. People want to have. Yeah, but the organizing committee of COP17 will direct all the initiatives in the same area as we are planning to have the green zone. So our city Yerevan has initiative to establish also green zone, but we will have one green zone in the city, and the place is also already decided. And now we are giving opportunity to our private sector, to other stakeholders, to cities to have this enlarged version of the green zone. But the interest is very high, and we are very happy with that. Our tech industry is also very much interested. We are having this Digitech Expo in Armenia every year, and they are also very inspired. And then they want to have their contribution and to showcase all the innovations and that the high-tech industry can present connected with the environment. And we are also encouraging them to do so. And the projects and the ideas which will be suitable for the green zone will be presented there. And here we are also very collaborative, and we expect collaboration with partners, with other stakeholders, with everyone. We want this COP to be inclusive, and we want this COP to be remembered as a COP where Armenia hosted and became home for many people from different countries, different religion and culture. So we want cooperation, and we are ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are no more questions raised here. There's one technical question, I mean, more a science-related question, and maybe I can, this is kind of coming towards the end, but there's a question on if there's going to be a big push on eDNA research and so on and so forth to harmonize, standardize understanding and knowledge around biodiversity. Is there such a agenda item at the secretariat level I think there's a whole direction of synthetic biology. There's a direction of more methodologies of, I know this is kind of a little bit detailed technical in the technical topics, but if there's anything you're prepared to say about it as kind of expanding the agenda of biodiversity conservation, plus how the methods and the tools and the science, and is there any discussion around how to effectively improve the production of knowledge around this area? You're on mute, sorry.
So on the agenda of the COP is the Nagoya Protocol and the Cartagena Protocol, and I think here will be also key issues to discuss and to agree on for the parties. And I will not go into the details because I'm not expert on this on this direction. And I will refer to the agenda of the COP, which is already in the website of the secretariat, CBD secretariat, and there we can see what will be the main topics on this direction.
And you just came back from Montreal, right? Or the ministry team just came back. Any impressions, any thoughts you want to share, any updates from that meeting?
So it was very interesting and extremely valuable meeting in Montreal, particularly in terms of practical preparation for COP17. We had detailed discussions with the Secretariat of the Convention on both leadership and technical levels. This helped us better understand the internal structure of the processes, coordination requirements, and the expected workflow leading up to COP17. One of the key areas we explored was the structure of the COP agenda, including the high-level segment, plenary sessions, and side events, and so on. We also discussed upcoming priorities from subsidiary body meetings, which is important for anticipating where negotiations may be more complex or politically sensitive. And in addition, we had substantive exchanges on Article 8J and traditional knowledge, the clearinghouse mechanism, and the global review of the progress under the KMGBF. Another important outcome was agreement on regular coordination between the Armenian presidency team and the secretariat. Going forward, we have set all the deadlines. We are working with the teams, with the focal points. So the meeting was extremely helpful, and we saw also the winter of Canada, if I can call so. We saw this icy rain when everything was closed. But the most surprising, very surprising for me, was that in Canada, there was an indigenous population who came to the Armenian church, and that they said that they have Armenian heritage. So it was very surprising for me. So one Armenian reached this community, and then they got married, and then the names of these people from this indigenous community were Armenian names. It was very surprising for me that we have also Armenian indigenous population with Armenian heritage. I mean,
in Canada, yeah.
So full of surprises, full of very interesting discussions. We were with a very big team. So our Minister of Environment, who is also the designated co-president, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Deputy Minister of Environment, me and our teams. We were there with a big delegation, and we had very interesting and very valuable discussions prior to COP. We were very stressed, and we were thinking that we are not on track. But then the Secretariat said that you are on track, and we are very happy and proud of you. I hope that we will keep this
momentum, yeah.
Yes, momentum till the end of the COP, and then we will have a very good action agenda on the KMGBF. Thank you.
Just for our non-Armenian audiences, just to keep things exciting, we've organized an election in the middle before so there's a national election in June on top of it. So we will not have any sleep until COP17 is over. So Okay, well, thank you very much. Ms. Deswart, do you want to any concluding thoughts or
Yeah, just very quickly. Well, thank you, Alan, for facilitating this great discussion. And yeah, no, just really, really grateful we can build this dialogue and learn from your expectations and your visions. And we are really willing to support both the Armenian civil society and presidency of the COP. And yeah, we try to be, so you know, the secretary of the CDB is in Montreal, so we are trying to be a good ally, international ally, wherever the COP on biodiversity goes. So just looking forward to keeping the discussion going.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you, SNAP and all the SNAP Quebec team and Mr. Memarian and all on your team members who have worked on this. And also at the Acopian Center, we have a lot of people that work to make this happen. Thank you, everyone. All right, take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Au revoir.
Thank you.
Thank you.